to the family of Lester Blackett. Mr. Blackett was a well-known fixture in Nevis, a man who certainly did incredible work in terms of sport, education. He taught for quite a while. He was an athlete in terms of athletics, but also in terms of football. And Mr. Blackett was someone who really assisted in incredible ways. In fact, if memory serves, he was quite instrumental even in terms of our Tibet program, in working with us as we tried to build out infrastructure for that program. And his engineering skills came in very useful. So we have lost really a great individual, and I want to extend my deepest condolences to his wife, his daughter, and the entire family at his loss. Let me also at this time extend condolences to the Huggins family in Hamilton, specifically Omel, mother. I also want to extend condolences to, what is his correct name, or Kimoy. I think I call him Thuggy, because that's my good friend, and certainly to young Gerando. We had a terrible incident in the last few days where two brother and sister were set upon by criminals. And as a result of that, the young woman, Joel Huggins, lost her life, and her brother, Julian Huggins, is hospitalized with serious injuries. I believe that the people of Hamilton deserve better. We have noticed, and the police have reported, that the Hamilton community has been the only community marred by violence in Nevis for the year thus far. And we are hopeful that there are no additional cases of violence in that area. We extend heartfelt condolences. The loss of Joel has, I believe, impacted all of us in a very real way. She was a young woman, hard-working young woman. I knew her well, and I know that she spent most of her time focused on raising her young son. Gerando is only 13 years old, and so the idea that he will now have to grow without the love and guidance and direction of his mother is particularly traumatic for us as a society. I believe that the violence that we're seeing across our country, across our region, that we need to take a very serious look at what has been happening, and that these young people who continue to engage themselves in these types of acts must be brought to justice. I'm aware that crime, as I often say, is a social problem. Crime emanates from us. It is our children, it is our relatives, it is our loved ones who are engaged in criminal activity. And we, as a law-abiding community, must decide what we want for ourselves, because nobody can commit crime and it goes undetected. What I mean by that is that somebody always knows what's happening. There are mothers out there, parents out there, girlfriends, friends who are hiding contraband, who are hiding firearms, who are protecting these criminals. I want you to know that you are enabling the destruction of our country. And we cannot continue to just talk about it. We need action. And so to that end, I'm pleased to say to the press that in the aftermath of that violent confrontation in Hamilton, which led to the loss of a young woman and serious injuries to her brother, I have been in close contact with the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, who's also the Minister of National Security. I have also been in contact with the High Command, the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Sutton, and the Permanent Secretary in the Premier's Ministry, Mr. Daniel, who normally engages on security matters. And we will be rolling out a number of new initiatives in the Hamilton area and the wider Nevis. We have already started with enhanced patrols, saturated patrols in Hamilton. We will also be engaging in some other efforts in Hamilton in order to bring greater comfort to the residents there. Hamilton, for those of us who know it, is a beautiful community where people have invested in beautiful homes, and very much an upper middle class type community in terms of the quality of housing and the quality of persons who reside there. And I believe that they themselves must be quite shocked at what is unfolding in their midst. I am calling on all of the residents of Hamilton, as I continue to call on all the residents here in Nevis and the wider Federation, to assist our police, to bring these perpetrators to justice, and to allow all of us to enjoy the peace dividend, so that we can live in peace, we can function in peace. There can be no development which is meaningful, no sustainable development, no sustainable island state, unless we can guarantee the safety and security of our people. And so again, my deepest condolences to the Huggins family. I was able to spend some time with the family yesterday, and I was able to visit young Mr. Huggins, who, as I said, has been injured, and I am hopeful that he will recover fully from his injuries. Let me go on to make an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, and to let the general public know that due to construction work that is happening at our main police station in Charlestown, which also houses our magistrates court, that we have had to relocate our magistrates court from Charlestown, and the magistrates court will now be accommodated at the St. Paul's Anglican Church from the 27th of May. I believe that was yesterday. I'm sorry, Church Hall, forgive me. That's a very important correction. So the magistrate court will not be in the church, but in the church hall, which is next door. I want to thank the St. Paul's Anglican Church. They recognized that we had a real problem. The initial indication we had was that the construction could work around the court, but that has proven untenable. So we're moving, it's only a temporary measure, but we're moving the magistrates court, the Charleston Magistrates Court, to the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall, and that would have become effective on May 27th. Let me move as quickly as I can to get through the information that has been given to me in terms of updates from the last press conference. Water, as we know, is an issue. We have been having some concerns in relation to water. I would like to report that the small desalination plant that we're working on, the reverse osmosis unit, that we are almost done with the housing for that. We expect to be done there in the middle of June. We did run into a bit of a problem with the drilling. That had to be halted as the drill rig suffered some damage, but replacement parts, we're told, have been ordered, and we hope to be back on track pretty quickly. We expect that that small desal plant will be in commission early in the summer. The Integrated Water Resource Unit has been working diligently, collecting water data from various sites across the island. There's a Dr. Leighton Narain from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College, and a Mr. John Rogers, head of the Department of Geosciences at Mississippi State University. They would have recently visited Nevis to gather some rain data. Mr. Rogers highlighted the importance of collecting data from water level sensors daily to accurately interpret trends. This is going to prove crucial for analyzing and developing solutions tailored to our specific needs and issues. The unit is now emphasizing the need for water retention and conservation as part of our adaptation methods to the changing weather patterns and less rainfall. A number of government-owned buildings, especially our schools, have cisterns and or storage tanks that we have installed. What we're hoping to do is to bring those online, meaning that for some periods of the year, those cisterns and storage tanks should be able to supply our schools, and therefore mean that those schools at those periods of the year do not have to be on the regular water supply. Of course, we continue to encourage residents to capture water when it comes. We had, for example, a touch of a tropical wave a few days ago and had quite some rainfall in the morning. And it would be good when the rain does come that we capture as much of it as possible. And so you will shortly be seeing a greater emphasis from us through our planning department to ask persons who are building homes to have some water catchment, some cistern or other water catchment, to ensure that the rains, less as they are now, less frequently as they come now, that when they do come, we try to capture as much of it as possible. So there will be some changes, and the government will be trying to lead from the front by ensuring as much as possible that our public buildings, schools, clinics, hospital and the like, that we're equipped with some kind of water catchment. So we are prepared to put our money where our mouth is and to lead from the front. On the drilling that we have talked about in this very room and you have heard on the airwaves, Water and Oil Wells Services is the contracted company, and they have been contracted to carry out some drilling for us. The last update we had is that they're in the process of sourcing some casings that are necessary, and they're preparing to mobilize to the island of Nevis their drill rigs. So we hope to have them in place shortly. The Public Works team continues work on the rehabilitation of the vendor bars at the Cultural Complex in preparation for C50, Culturama 50. We are currently at the stage of installing the wood decking for the new concrete roof structure. Work also continues at the roadway in Brown Hill and at the last junction of Butlers, just north of Esme's shop. We are expecting that both of those projects will be completed in June. And we were held up because I believe we needed some bitumen, and that, I'm told, has either already been shipped or has already arrived. And so we look forward very shortly to having those two bits of road completed, and we thank the people of Butlers and the people of Brownhill for their patience thus far. We are also constructing a new property fence along the northern boundary of the Government House property. That is, of course, the official office of the Deputy Governor General, and we have had some issues there. So if you see some work happening opposite Island Tires, that is the government trying to maintain and secure that property in a much better way. We've also engaged in preparation for hurricane season, the maintenance of all culverts and U-drains island-wide, and if you see some clearing of guts, we've also engaged in that process of trying to prepare ourselves. We hope and pray that we have no hurricanes, but we're hoping, nevertheless, while we pray, we're preparing. Let me look quickly at the Ministry of Health and Gender. On Wednesday, the 1st of May, we had the Health Promotion Unit launching its inaugural edition of Under the Scope Health Chronicles digital magazine. Believe me, members of the press, if you have not yet seen it, please try to get a copy. It's actually an excellent initiative. This digital magazine will be a quarterly release to feature what is happening within health. It aims to educate, inspire, motivate, and empower our people as we connect health and our community. The general public is advised of the temporary relocation of the Gingerland Dental Unit, effective May 7th, to the wards building Charlestown, where the Charlestown Dental Unit is currently housed. So basically, we are collapsing the two dental units into one, and that is due to the fact that the Gingerland Dental Unit needs some repairs to the roof. So we had to relocate them to allow that urgent repair, and then we expect that they will go back to their original home in Gingerland. The ministry, in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, would have celebrated World Hypertension Day on Friday, 17th May, with a live cooking demonstration. Chef Michael Henville, very well known to all of us, he prepared a warm salmon salad and veggie tacos. And the idea is that we should be eating healthier, low-sodium meal options. That event also featured an educational aspect on hypertension. You know that hypertension is one of the main NCDs impacting our people, not only in St. Kitts Nevis, but across our region. Hypertension and diabetes. Those are the two silent killers that we have to confront. And so whatever we can do through our health system to encourage our people to take those lifestyle changes, what they eat, how they eat, exercise, we continue to promote and encourage. As we say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It is far better to delay the onset of illness than to wait until it happens and then to try to correct it. And so I encourage our people to listen to the various messages and to adjust their own behavior, as indeed I ask you to involve yourselves in much of what is happening on the island. There is a tremendous amount. In fact, as I say that, the SKN Moves Nevis chapter, in collaboration with the Taiwan ICDF, would have hosted their second quarterly free health screening at the Cotton Ginnery Mall on Wednesday, May 22nd. And we do these public screenings where we encourage people to come, have your blood glucose checked, blood pressure checked, your body mass index, and get advice and literature as to how you can improve your lifestyle and so improve your health. The Behavioral Health and Wellness Center will have commissioned some grow boxes on Tuesday, May 21st on the grounds of the facility. Members of the press, I encourage you to go and visit that facility. It's really, really interesting what we're trying to achieve there. We have not only renamed it, it used to be called the Mental Health Unit. We now refer to it as the Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. But we're doing some interesting things there. So we've now introduced these grow boxes. And the idea is that individuals who come there for care can spend a day, they can garden, they can engage themselves in that type of activity. And it serves two useful purposes. One is therapeutic for those individuals, but two, it also provides some food, ultimately. And so we think that that's a very important and innovative development there at the Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. It is right in Prospect. If you're not careful, you'll miss it, because we try to make it appear to be just an ordinary residence so that people can come there and feel comfortable and that there's no stigma attached to it. So this is an initiative that we've undertaken, and we ask that members of the press go and see it for themselves. The Public Health Department will have conducted a two-day workplace fire safety training within the ministry, and officers from the various departments were trained in how to safely extinguish small fires and to evacuate in the case of a threatening fire. The ministry thanks the Nevis Fire and Rescue Services for collaborating on this training. Now, an important announcement. 13 individuals are currently undertaking the Association of Public Safety Communications APCO Institute Public Safety Telecommunicator 1 training. The training seeks to introduce and prepare participants to the profession of emergency dispatching by promoting rapid and accurate collection, exchange, and dissemination of information relating to emergencies to responders using a computer-aided dispatch CAD system and radios. Successful participants will be certified. To date, all police, fire, hospital, and disaster departments have been fitted with base stations, mobile and portable radios. Thank you to the Four Seasons Homeowners Foundation for funding this initiative. Now, members of the press, you have heard me mention before, and I'm sure you've heard from the Ministry of Health itself, that this has been something we've been working on for some time. It's a brand new emergency dispatch system using the 911, and it's been rolled out in Nevis as a pilot, which we are hopeful, once successful, will become the national standard. So what we're doing is using the same 911, but we are now training individuals, we're investing in new equipment, new radios, and we will house this at our CCTV command center. The idea, therefore, is when you have any emergency and you call 911, that you'll have a professional person answering that phone and dispatching your call to where it needs to go. The ambition, I'm told, is to have assistance to you within 6 minutes, wherever you're on the island. And so that appears to be the international standard, and this is what I'm told we are seeking to achieve. We have had the involvement of the federal government. In fact, I would like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, because he has given the green light for this project as Minister of National Security, to also involve the police and fire, and of course we'll have the hospital and the health officials involved as well. I believe, members of the press, if you're asking me why Nevis is bothering with this, it's because there have been consistent complaints over the years that our emergency dispatch is not treated with any level of urgency. So we have emergencies that are not treated with urgency because of the lack of infrastructure. And so sometimes people complain that when they call 911, it could be picked up in St. Kitts. And we know how difficult it would be for somebody in St. Kitts to then direct security forces or health officials in Nevis as to where they need to go. Similarly, if they are on some sides of the island, I'm told, like the south of Nevis, they say sometimes the 911 call is actually bounced to places like Antigua. So we are trying to remove all that. We're investing in repeaters on the tower at St. James, Whitehall, and we are trying to have a far more modern system for emergencies. I confess that in the meetings with me, because it's coming at quite a significant cost to the NIA, training, hiring new individuals, that I had a concern. And of course, none of us thinks about emergency until the emergency happens. So the question is, what's our state of readiness? Earlier I mentioned that we were preparing for hurricane while we're hoping no hurricane comes. The idea is similar, that we want, and for members of the press and members of the public, that whenever there's an emergency, that you can call and you will know and be assured that your call is being handled by professionals and that you will get the help that you need. Whether it's a heart attack, stroke, whether it's a fire, whether it's a crime, whether it's a car accident, you'll get the help you need within the period that we have indicated. And so that is what we're seeking to achieve, and I think it's a very, very useful development as we march with our sister St. Kitts to a sustainable island state. The Department of Gender Affairs will have culminated a series of training for women in tiling. So women are now doing tiling on Nevis. We're training women to do tiling, and that was done in collaboration with TDC, Home and Building Depot. The final sessions were utilized as good deeds activity. We saw the ladies giving back the skills and knowledge learned by tiling the grade 5 classroom at the Joyce and Libert Primary School. 24 women were part of this training. And as the construction sector here grows and it's expanding rapidly, we think having women doing what we call non-traditional roles is also important. Why shouldn't women be out there tiling and plumbing and doing electrical and doing all of the things that have traditionally been the bastion of men? So we are now saying that women, so we have trained 24 women, and they did something at the Joyce and Libert to pave that classroom. I haven't heard any complaints. So my conclusion is that they did a good job in paving that classroom. The Day of the Boy Child, we celebrated on May 16th. Under the theme, The Boy Child, Provide, Protect, Prepare. 14 boys from private and public schools across the island were recipients of the Boy of Excellence Award. From the Joyce and Libert Primary, Daniel Lowe, Cecil Brown Integrated, Xavier Zine Stapleton. St. Thomas's Primary, Javante Hondas Maynard. Charleston Primary, Jemoy Nisbet. Montessori Academy, Abram Seeley. Maud Cross Preparatory, Trebron Hendrickson. Nevis Academy, Kejon Harrier. Gingerland Secondary, Delonte Warner. Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, Kelvin Wilkin Jr. Nevis International Secondary, Reshon Weeks. Ivor Walters Primary, Kenai Elliott. Charleston Secondary, Jaden Dennis Clark. St. James Primary, Zane Mintos, and VOJ Primary, Deshaun James. We congratulate them all. The third annual fish pot making workshop, that was held on Saturday, May 18th and Saturday, May 25th at the Jessop's Plainfield. 20 men and women benefited from this training, and this was in collaboration between the Gender Affairs Department and the Department of Marine Resources. If I can turn to the all-important area of agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture would have recently hosted the award ceremony and recognized outstanding staff and honored some recent retirees. The ceremony also recognized the Livestock Farmer of the Year, Idris Morton, the Crop Farmer of the Year, Godwin Mike Brown, the Protected Agriculture Farmer of the Year, McLevin Tross, and the Fisher of the Year, Lester Richards. I want to congratulate all. We know them all, and they have been stalwarts in agriculture in Nevis and assisting to feed our island as we continue this march to food security. So we congratulate all of the awardees and trust that they will continue to inspire their colleagues. The Department of Agriculture is currently conducting a series of farmers' meetings across the island with a view to implementing consistent production of various commodities as part of the 25 by 2025 agenda. Some of the topics that are being addressed: lands and leases, that is the availability of lands, crop selection and scheduling, agricultural inputs, and of course the all-important marketing. We are urging farmers across Nevis to be a part of these meetings. The Nevis Agro-Processing Division is currently accepting mangoes for pulping at a rate of $1 per pound once they're in good condition. $1 per pound. It's better than some of the mangoes just wasted. So if you want to make a little money, collect the mangoes, take them to the agro-processing. We are paying $1 per pound. The division also needs locally produced guavas, soursop, and golden apples for processing as well. The Nevis Fisheries Complex, in collaboration with the Department of Marine Resources, will be hosting their annual Fish Festival on Friday, 14 June at the Charleston waterfront. A variety of seafood dishes on sale, as well as displays and educational booths. Please do not miss it. Switching quickly to education. Ministry of Education, Sports and IT. And I have some updates here. Let me start by congratulating Jalden Myers and Vibert Stevens. They have been selected to the St. Kitts Nevis football team for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers versus Costa Rica and the Bahamas. Alger Newton, also from Bath, has been appointed assistant coach for the St. Kitts Nevis under-14 boys team that will participate in the Caribbean Challenge Series in August. And young Carlton Pluck has been selected to the Leeward Islands under-19 team that will play in the Cricket West Indies Rising Stars tournament in St. Vincent starting June 30th. Carlton Pluck, I believe, plays for Brownhill, and so I wish him well, as I indeed wish young Jalden and Vibert, who play for Bath, well, and Alger Newton from Bath. I wish him well as well in his new role as assistant coach. We had a spelling bee competition, 15th annual interscholastic spelling bee competition for primary and secondary schools, sponsored by the Dr. Lornette Mills Charitable Foundation. Shout out to Dr. Mills and thank her for her continued contribution to Nevis. And then we had additional sponsorship from HarperCollins Publishers, as well as the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. I thank them as well. In the primary category, defending champion was who? My alma mater, Ivor Walters. And they're still the champions. I'm told here that they emerged again the champions. So kudos to Ivor Walters. Second place went to the Nevis Academy, and third place at the St. Thomas's Primary School. The best speller was Arnav Shadari of the Nevis Academy, and we congratulate young Arnav. In the secondary category, the International Secondary School placed first, Charleston Secondary School second, Gingerland Secondary School third. Best speller of the competition was Aaron Woolard of the Nevis International School, and we congratulate them all and congratulate young Mr. Woolard as well. Importantly, members of the press and public, the STEM Challenge. The Department of Education would have hosted the second annual First Federal Cooperative Credit Union STEM Challenge. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, I believe. And that was done on the 22nd of May at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park Amphitheater. 8 schools participated in the primary schools category. Congratulations to the schools that earned top placements. First was the Joycean Liebert Primary School, second the Maud Cross Preparatory School, and third the Ivor Walters Primary. The 3 secondary schools also competed, that is the 3 schools on Nevis, and the position at the end of the competition were first Gingerland Secondary, second Charlestown Secondary, third Nevis International Secondary. Now the STEM Challenge, I'm told, is not a traditional quiz. Instead, it's an interactive quiz competition which tests students' mastery of the 21st century skills. Questions took the form of puzzles, experiments, multi-layered equations, and question and answer presentations. The Nevis Public Library has asked that I advise you that they will have their 34th annual summer library program, and under the theme Reduce, Reuse, Recycle for a Healthier Planet, there will be 2 sessions. Session 1, July 22nd to 26th for children ages 5 to 8. Session 2, July 29th to August 2nd for ages 9 to 12. Registration is now open. It closes on June 21st. I don't normally get an opportunity to say something about our IT department. And so give me a chance this morning to spend a few minutes telling you about what we have been doing in terms of IT. We have made considerable progress on improving internet connectivity at our schools, particularly our high schools. Efforts to enhance internet connectivity at the high schools have yielded positive results with no reported issues. This improvement ensures a smoother learning experience for students and teachers alike. The ongoing examination processes have been executed with minimal disruptions, indicating the effectiveness of the IT systems in supporting crucial educational activities. At our community centers, we have also been progressing with our plan to get greater connectivity. I'm proud to say this morning that all community centers on the island, the process to connect all community centers on the island, that is about 80% complete at this point. And so we are almost fully done with that program. That initiative aims to foster inclusivity and access to digital resources for all residents. One of the things that we hope to roll out at our community centers is to have access for those children who want to do homework, who want to get on the internet, that we have not just the connectivity but also the devices that will be available at our community centers across the island. We understand that cybercrime is at an all-time high and that our systems remain at risk, and so the IT department has also been engaging in enhanced security measures. They are actively working on implementing a robust backup solution and deploying something that's called an XDR, endpoint detection and response system, to safeguard computers on the network. We are also upgrading our fiber. We are moving from 1 gigabyte connection to a 10 gigabyte connection. This upgrade promises to enhance network performance and support the growing demands of users across the various departments. I just want to commend the youngsters at IT, Mr. Craig David and his team. They've done and continue to do a fantastic job. Now, I was asked to say to the young people who might be interested in joining our youth parliament that we are looking for people between the ages of 15 to 28 and asking them to seize that opportunity. I see some in here, at least one, who's in that age group, 15 to 28. So if she's not already a member of the youth parliament, she needs to become a member. Application forms are available for collection at the legislature's office, which is at Johnson Jones Building in Charlestown. That's right across from the Alexander Hospital. And we are asking that you don't miss the opportunity. The deadline is June 21st. And this is a very, very good early ground, if you will, for young people to become debaters and to learn a bit about what's happening insofar as debate and discussions on topical issues are concerned. It also prepares them, many of them, for moving on and for them entering into the political arena. And so we hope very much that they will be a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I was privileged recently to attend a groundbreaking ceremony for a new development, Platinum Development, which will be doing up to 3 ultra luxury villas in the Cades Bay area. I think this is the area where the old Coconut Grove restaurant used to be. I want to publicly commend the developers, Platinum Development, for their efforts, and I know that this is the first of other projects that they want to do on the island of Nevis, and they are hoping that they can fill a niche of the ultra high-end luxury market that currently, I believe, only the Four Seasons Resort has so far tackled. And so I look forward to this and encourage other investors, and I keep emphasizing that Nevis is open for business and that in fact we've been attracting a steady flow of business coming to the island. So congratulations to Platinum Development, and I wish their project all the very best. Let me also, as I'm congratulating, say to the Nevis Peak Brewery that I commend them and congratulate them because they were able to produce Nevis's first beer. And they invited me. I want to assure the public I did not have too much, but I did taste the various beers that were available. I don't know all the names, but they had 3. One was similar to a Guinness. I think they called it a stout. And then they had a 2 variety, a Pilsner and some kind of ale. I hope I have those correct. All I can tell is the colors were different and the taste was different, but they were all excellent. And we'll certainly look forward to them. I suggest you go and try it out. It is right in Pennies, and that is the big thing now, that Nevis has a craft beer available to us. It adds immeasurably to our dining scene. I want to particularly commend Mr. Robert Wagner and his family because they talked about this project. They labored with this project for a very long time. And the fact that they stuck with it also speaks to their confidence in Nevis. I want to commend NIPA, our Nevis Investment Promotion Agency, because it's one of the projects that we worked with to bring to fruition. It's my hope that if all goes well, that, who knows, we may be able to expand outwards this beer and beer production here, so that we can become the beer of Nevis. With the name Nevis Peak, perhaps, that's the name of the brewery, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, it's draft beer, it's available to those, and I think it's excellent. I confess I'm not a connoisseur, but I definitely enjoyed what was shared with me. Culturama 50, members of the press, members of the public, is well and truly upon us. It's fast approaching. They tell me that today marks 59 days to the start of the festival. And the report that I have is that preparations are going smoothly. I would have visited just yesterday the site at the Cultural Village and the Cultural Complex to see progress for myself, and I'm quite impressed with what I'm seeing, and the contractors are telling us that they will be able to finish on time. I urge them to continue to do their very best. The Panyard Concert number 3, which had been scheduled for this past Sunday, had been postponed due to inclement weather. That event will now occur on Sunday, June 9th at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park from 4 p.m. The concert will feature solo and duo steel pan players, Leroy Paris Jr., Gavin Patterson, and Dejon Francis, as well as soloists and duos from the EBJ Harmonics Steel Orchestra. The grand finale of the series of Panyard concerts will take place on Sunday, June 30th at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. I'm told that these concerts have been excellent. I encourage the public to go out and be a part of them. This coming Friday, the third Action Corner will be seated at the Charleston Waterfront from 4 p.m. And this time we're collaborating with the Sink It's Music Festival. They are coming over. They tell us they have some fantastic prizes to give away. And we will have in attendance my dear friend, sweet sister Sensia, the Ultimate Band, Rukas, and David House. That's what I have here. And so we anticipate that that will be a grand time there this Friday. For the convenience of our attendees, the Nevis Culturama Committee is now introducing an online ticketing platform for the sale of all Culturama 50 events, and that will go live from June 1st. You can easily purchase your tickets online. This includes a 5-star VIP experience. All tickets will be available online from June 1st. So we encourage those coming in from overseas and those here at home, buy your tickets early to ensure that you are not left out. The Flamingo Restaurant will again operate the 5-star VIP experience for Culturama 50. The 4 shows at which the 5-star VIP experience will operate are the Miss Culture Swimwear, Mr. Cool Contest on Sunday, July 20th, Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Pageant on Tuesday, July 30th, the Senior Kaisel Contest on Saturday, August 3rd, and the Miss Culture Queen Pageant on Sunday, August 4th. The cost per ticket is $400 EC. So for those who want the VVVVIP experience, a lot of V's in there, who want to be pampered, then you are asked to get your tickets for the 5-star VIP experience. Culturama Committee will have its second media conference. I'm sure you'll hear more about that. But that will be on Friday, June 21st at 10 a.m. and they will have a number of new announcements to make there. I'm told, and my note says, exciting news. In light of the cancellation of the much anticipated Culturama 50 5-in-1 Fete, we are thrilled to announce a new addition to our festival lineup, the Culturama 50 Wet Fete. The thrilling event will take place on Friday, July 19th at the Cultural Village. Will feature an exciting entertainment lineup, adding to the vibrant co-activities of Culturama 50. Now, what had happened was, since Richard's promotion, good friend Wazim Richards usually does the 5-in-1, and he had that already scheduled, we had decided that we would not bother to have a wet fete, which I gather is quite popular with the young people. Wazim, however, has had some issues, and as a consequence has decided not to move forward this year with the 5-in-1 fete. And so the Culturama Committee has stepped back in now to say, well, in light of that, we'll do the wet fete. So for those who are wet fete aficionados, you have an opportunity to be a part of that. Tourism, I just want to report that the month of May we're celebrating our Tourism Awareness Month, dubbed Exposition Nevis. The month of activities will have commenced with the 200th anniversary service at Cottle Church, and other activities included the 10th anniversary of the Jessup Seafood Fiesta, Heritage Village Open Day at the Nivision Heritage Village, and Hospitality Immersion, where our students got the opportunity to engage in live interactions with tourism professionals at various hotels and attractions around the island. There was also a fabric art exhibition at Montpelier Hotel, which showcased the work of workshop participants engaged in a 6-week workshop facilitated by Mrs. Deborah Tyrrell. And so we thank Deborah for her effort and all of those who participated in this fabric art exhibition. A new feature this year was the first ever Nevis Heritage Festival, which was held at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park in collaboration with the Department of Community Development. This event featured cuisine from more than 10 Caribbean and African nations. We had oil down and tania log from Grenada, ackee and saltfish from Jamaica, roti and polori from Guyana, and fufu and jollof rice from the African countries. We also had cultural performances, and the event was deemed quite a success. And so I continue to commend P.S. Hanley and the entire team for their innovation as we continue to progress tourism on the island. The Tourism Youth Congress, you know, each year we have young people, the schools compete for who will be the new Youth Minister of Tourism. And so the 3 high schools would have locked horns, and that occurred on Tuesday, 21st of May. In 3rd place was Belinda Subramani of the Gingerland Secondary School. 2nd place was Kiara Barry of the Gingerland Secondary School. And the winner was Kiana Warner of the Charlestown Secondary School. So Kiana Warner emerges as the newly minted Youth Minister of Tourism, and she will represent Nevis at the CTO Regional Youth Congress, which we held in the Cayman Islands later this year. We congratulate Ms. Warner and indeed all the others who participated in this important initiative. Let me just say that Nevis has won the CTO Regional Youth Congress on 2 occasions that we are aware of, and we want certainly to continue to compete at that level. Restaurant Week will be held during the period 11 to 21st July. It will feature local themed ingredient papaya, pupai, papa, whatever it is the correct name is. I think you all know what I mean, members of the press. Here in Nevis we say pupai. This is papaya or papa, as I've heard it called as well. That's the ingredient. Saturday 13 July, the Nevis Tasting Showcase will be held at the MGR Park, where patrons will get the opportunity to sample papaya-themed dishes from participating restaurants. Tickets will shortly be on sale for $30 US or EC $80. During Restaurant Week, a number of restaurants will be hosting signature events, including Lime Beach Bar's Carnival at the Cabanas, Sunshine's Moonlight Promenade, and the Heritage Cafe, where a themed supper event will be held. Details of these Restaurant Week events will be posted shortly on the Ministry of Tourism and Nevis Tourism Authority social media platforms. If you've been to the Bath Stream lately, we're doing some major upgrades at this significant site. It is now nearing completion. The project will include a small welcome center. It will also include bathroom facilities and change room facilities. Now, if you haven't been there and you're going there looking for some modern looking buildings, that is not what we try to achieve. We're trying to keep a rustic look, and so we actually got some old chattel houses and brought on site to create that sort of rustic village feel, if you will. We're doing some walls, some stone walls, we're doing some picket fencing, and I'm very happy with what I see there. I hope that you are happy too. I would want to commend, of course, P.S. John Hanley, who leads the team, but more specifically, Mr. Sylvester Mead. This has been a passion of his for a very long time, and he has really been there pushing on this project. Members of the press, I would definitely invite you to go and take a look. It is very impressive what we've done thus far. The project should also include a gazebo and some flagstone pathways. 3 buildings on the site are almost complete with just minor finishes, electrical and data connections to be made. A new entryway and illuminated parking lots will shortly be constructed. As a result, traffic into the Bath Stream Yard will be restricted over the next few weeks, and the Ministry of Tourism kindly requests the patience and understanding of taxi operators and the general public The shed over the pool next to the Darius gift shop will also be shortly undergoing repairs and similarly will be out of use for several days. Again, the ministry wishes to thank the public in advance for your patience and understanding. The next project that I'm inviting members of the press to go and see is our project at Pinnis. We will of course open the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. It's going into the second year of operations. But on the beach side, we have done tremendous work there. And I'm told that work, they've given me a curious percentage here. It says 87% complete. The road network, parking spaces for over 100 vehicles, a boardwalk, bathrooms, drains, enhanced sewage, enhanced security. We are now, the entire area is covered by CCTV. We are now working on overhead and landscaping lighting and completing the sewage system. It is hoped that the project will be substantively completed very shortly. Definitely, I've been assured in time for Culturama 50, and I've asked them if they can get it done by the middle of June. I would be grateful. All the concrete that needs to be done is done. The landscaping is now going in, and we anticipate that you will be happy with what you see there. We have done a remarkable project. Thank you again to the Republic of China, Taiwan for their partnership on this project. On our Culturama 50 homestay program, you recall we launched this initiative to invite people to make their homes, apartments, rooms in their homes available for people coming home to stay, so that those people who choose that can have that village experience. They can be in the community in a very real way that they wouldn't perhaps get if they were at a hotel. Well, you're reminded that the Nevis Homestay Program, which is seeking to provide additional accommodation for relatives and friends, we are reminding you of that program. It's still open. We encourage locals who have extra space in their homes to make this available for rent during C50. Special concessions are available for persons who wish to make upgrades which might be necessary for participating in the program. Kindly contact the Ministry of Tourism, the Nevis Tourism Authority, or the Culturama Secretariat for more details on how you can participate. Now, as I talk about tourism, I want to say, members of the press and members of the public, how pleased we have been that tourism in Nevis has well and truly rebounded in a very significant way. For the month of March this year, we are seeing that our earnings from what we call the TDL, that is 2% that is levied on restaurants and hotel accommodation bills, that is up 7.45% over the same month, March 2023. April is up 2.41% over 2023, and May is up 16.73% over 2023. To put that in context for you in terms of dollar value, March we would have earned $364,035 from the 2%. April we would have earned $523,711 from the 2%, and May we would have earned thus far $441,317, and as I said, that's up 16.73%. Collection for May at $441,000 is up 22.3% over our pre-COVID numbers in 2019. May would normally be considered a month when we start to drop drastically, because that is the start of the low season. We are seeing that May this year is 16.73% ahead of last year and 22.3% over the pre-COVID numbers. And so that speaks for itself in terms of where we are and what we're doing. And I commend certainly the team, the board at the NTA, and of course the NTA is led by Mr. Devon Liebert and his team for the excellent work that they've been doing thus far. So that the members of the press know, it is that 2% that we collect that is then used to fund the activities of the NTA and the marketing efforts for the island. So the better we do there, the more resources we have available for undertaking the activities, including activities like the Mango Festival, which I'm going to speak to now. The Mango Festival is happening this year. It is the 10th anniversary and it's scheduled for July 4th to 7th, with an additional day added this year. Ticket, and this is important in light of the lessons we learned from last year, the event will be capped. So purchase your tickets, please, as soon as they become available. So whatever that number is, once we hit that number, we will cut off the sale so that we understand how many, the maximum that we're catering for. One of the problems we had last year is that we continued to allow people into the venue, even when food and drink and all of that had been consumed. And of course, that did not sit well with patrons. And so this year we are capping the number. Soon as the tickets are released, then if you want to be a part of it, please get your tickets. We will release a full schedule of activities for the 4-day festival by the weekend. And so you'll have a clear understanding of what's happening on each day. We will be engaging 50 chefs this year for a wider variety of tastings. A celebrity chef will be featured at the Master Class and Supper Club. There will be various activities patrons can engage in besides the tasting. So we're going to have games, sip and paint, and those types of activities. This year, for the first time, we will be having a VIP lounge for the ultimate VIP experience at the Mango Fest. We are recruiting over 100 volunteers, and we're asking persons interested to sign up online or at the NTA office in Charlestown. And this year as well, we'll be using the entire park, the entire MGR park. And it will have, patrons will be happy to hear this, multiple entrances and exits. The idea really is to avoid the bottlenecks that we saw last year. So we heard the concerns last year and we responded in, we hope, a very positive way. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall leave it there and now take your questions from members of the press. For those who have some questions for me, I'll be delighted to take those now. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. L.K. Hewlett, Department of Information. Can we get an update on the progress of the government's housing developments? 2, is there any update on the Nevis geothermal project? 3, what do you credit for the robust tourism growth in Nevis? And we have a question from Freedom FM.
You're going very fast.
I'm so sorry.
And I don't yet have AI assisted me, so you'll have to bear with me. So you are asking me about housing, geothermal,
yes, sir,
and tourism, rebounding and the reasons. Yes,
and then we have a question from Freedom FM. What was the rationale behind the NEVLEC rate increase, and why was there no notice given to customers before that increase? And that again is from Freedom FM over on St. Kitts.
Okay. Thank you very much. All fair questions. In terms of geothermal, let me start there, because as you know, that's a project that has attracted a lot of attention. I'm told that the Caribbean Development Bank would have led a team here over the last week, and that they would have engaged with our lead on that project, which is the team at NEVLEC. And what they were concerned about had to do with the bidding process. As you know, we attempted a first round of bidding for the drilling, which was unsuccessful for a number of factors. So we had in part to recalibrate the bid documents. From what I'm told from the technical people, it appears that this is the first time that the Caribbean Development Bank is doing a geothermal project. And so the bid documents that they would have been accustomed to were found to be not perhaps as suitable for this type of project. And so that is one of the reasons I'm told why the original bid process was not successful. So we have gone back now and we have recalibrated the bid documents. And so my understanding and the report I got yesterday from Mr. Albert Gordon, who leads the team at NEVLEC, is that they met with the CDB and they're trying to iron out what the final version of those bid documents are going to be. We are not proposing to do an open bid, this is the second round, but rather we are asking individual companies. We're inviting individual companies to bid, and hopefully we'll be able through that process to select a driller in short order. So There has been some movement, but unfortunately a lot of that activity is behind the scenes activity. The lawyers are meeting, the technical people are meeting, trying to work through these documents. It's taken a very long time, and so I urged yesterday again that they proceed with greater haste. As you know, the CDB funding is important to the project. There's some 17 million US dollars that is already there, just waiting for us to move forward. So I think that there's good progress on that. I've been in close contact with the Honorable Prime Minister on the funding piece, and he has traveled. I believe that he is leading a delegation to the SIDS conference in Antigua, and we hope that we'll be able to meet as soon as he's back so that we can get a better understanding of next steps in relation to the funding gap that we have and to which I would have already spoken. The tourism industry and the I think resurgence, it might have been the word you used. The truth be told, Ms. Hewlett, that we're not just seeing a resurgence, we're seeing numbers that the island has never seen before. So it's not as if we are going back to, say, pre-pandemic numbers. We are seeing pre-pandemic plus. Tourism in Nevis right now is on steroids. It's really phenomenal what we're seeing, and I think there's pent-up demand out there. But I also believe that more and more discerning guests are recognizing that Nevis remains a very special place. It is, as I like to say, how the Caribbean used to be. It is a space where people who want the Caribbean but want the authentic Caribbean come to. And so we are seeing that our marketing efforts have gained traction. The Four Seasons and its marketing efforts have led the way. They've done phenomenally well. In fact, a lot of the growth that we're seeing has been led by them. We've also been helped tremendously in Nevis by the new airlift coming into RLB. Specifically, I'm told, the JetBlue flight. The Four Seasons is very happy. They're saying that they're doing tremendously well from the JetBlue flight, both in terms of frequency and the fact that JetBlue is coming out of what is our main market, which is New York. And so I feel that a combination of those factors has led to quite a significant movement here. We are seeing most of our hotels already completely booked for the Culturama festivities, so we anticipate that that's going to be another surge the end of July, August. Bearing in mind these are times when the hotels are normally empty, and the Four Seasons is saying to us that they can't even offer all of their room stock for Culturama because they expect to have a buyout during the month of August. And so that too is quite interesting, that as late as August we are having buyouts of our major hotels here. We're also having a major archaeological conference happening in Nevis. Also in August, I believe they bought out the Mount Nevis Hotel and others. They're looking to stay all across the island. We're expecting 150 or so participants in that conference, plus of course their family members who may come with them. And so the island is really looking at a tremendous level of activity for the summer. And I emphasize that simply because the summer is where we see normally the least activity so far as that is concerned. So I think our people have done an excellent job in terms of the marketing, but I also feel there's a pent-up demand out there, and I think that Nevis is a product now that people want. People who want to escape the hurly-burly of success in their day-to-day lives come to Nevis to recharge. We also, of course, offer bespoke experience here. Our hotels, whether the Four Seasons, one of the Plantation Inns, Paradise Beach Resort, we offer the kind of accommodation, I think, the understated luxury that some people are looking for, and we cater to that very well. We know our market, and we're very consistent in appealing to our market. I have said that Nevis is too small to be all things to all people, and so we're playing to our strengths and trying to do more in relation to the top percentile of the tourism market. You mentioned housing. I believe that language I've used is to say we've had a housing revolution here on the island of Nevis. I would want you to know, Ms. Hewlett and members of the press and public, that since I became Premier in 2017, well, December, so I can't count 2017, but 2018, January morning, I started work as Premier. Until now, we've built around 123 houses. which averages about 20 homes per year, I'm sorry. That had been at a global cost of 34.4 million EC dollars, which means that we're building homes on average $280,000 or thereabouts per home. Some are larger, some are smaller, some are a bit more expensive, some are a little less expensive, but for you to be able to get a plot of land and a house on it for an average of $280,000 really shows the level of subsidy that the government is providing. And I want to take a moment just to speak to that. I find a lot of people come to the government and some are even complaining and saying that the cost is too high of the government housing. Those in and around construction will tell you that after COVID, construction material prices went through the roof. We have nevertheless been trying to do our very best as a small island with very limited resources. And I can tell you that there are times when the Nevis Housing Land Development Corporation is running on fumes. They don't have the money because we are subsidizing to a significant degree the houses that we do provide. So a house that you're getting here on perhaps 6,500, 7,000 square feet of land for 280,000 EC dollars. Tell yourself that if you went out into the market for that, you probably be paying 400,000 for that. So, on every house that we build, the taxpayers of this island are subsidizing that significantly. I say that because I don't think that sometimes people think it through. And some people just say, I want a house and I only want to pay $500 a month. That is the sense that you get. But I think that we have to be realistic and to say that the government has really been going above and beyond. And that is why I've said to the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation that we must slowly get back to our original mandate, which is to provide housing really, which is affordable housing for persons who without the assistance may not be able to get a home. Because what we found happening was a lot of people who perhaps could get a home in the normal course were still coming to the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation because they wanted a home built, but built that was heavily subsidized. So I just wanted to make that clear. But I think on balance, we have done well in the last few years. As I said, 123 homes complete. And those homes since 2017 are located in Madden's Estate, Cedar View Housing Development Phase 3. Again, members of the press, if you've not been to Madden's, it's the best housing development in the Federation. I say that without any water in my mouth. Because if you go there, you don't believe you're in a government housing. You're in a middle income to upper middle income neighborhood with beautiful infrastructure underground, beautiful roads, and we're now building out Phase 3. You really should go and have a look at Cedar View. We are doing development in Hamilton Estate, Sugar Mill Residences again, beautifully paved roads, beautiful middle income neighborhood we've created. Ramsbury Estate, Craddock Road, that is ongoing. Mountain Crest, again, very nice neighborhood. Low Ground Estate, Chimney Crescent, that's almost built out. Rice's Village, Bayview Gardens, and Spring Hill Estate, University Heights. So all across the island, we're doing homes. In St. Paul's, St. John's, St. George, St. James. We have not been able to do what we would like to do in St. Thomas's, the people of St. Thomas's who might be listening, simply because of two factors. One, the government doesn't really have much land available to it in St. Thomas's. And two, because the Four Seasons and all of these high-end developments are in St. Thomas's, Paradise Beach and the like, the real estate in St. Thomas is the most expensive on the island of Nevis. So St. Thomas does not lend itself as easily. We have done some work in places like Cohoons and tried to expand the cotton ground community, but it is not as easy because we don't have the land available to us. And the land that is available in terms of for sale, we could not afford to purchase that land to provide housing at this level. And so that has been a concern for us. And so you will find that the people of St. Thomas's are relocating in some cases to these other developments, which is a matter for concern as well, because you don't want St. Thomas's to be denuded. You need St. Thomas's to continue to grow. But how do you grow it in terms of housing when the lands over there are some of the most expensive on the island. Is a problem that we're trying to grapple with. So I just wanted to say that, Ms. Hewlett. Insofar as Freedom FM is concerned, and the question about tariffs, you would remember, members of the press, that in 2022, one of our responses to the COVID pandemic, bearing in mind how harsh that was on so many, is that we tried in the post-COVID period, in the recovery period, to provide some relief for customers of NEVLEC. And that relief took the form of removing the fuel surcharge from domestic consumers. The fuel surcharge, we recognize at times, was even more than your consumption. And we tried to remove it. And in relation to commercial consumers, we capped it at 65 cents. So we said it will not go over 65 cents per kilowatt hour for the commercial users, and for domestic users we removed it altogether. Now if the people of Nevis are fair, they will say, and I know I can say this because many of them met me on the road, in the supermarket and in the bank, etc., to tell me that they were paying the lowest electricity bills, some claim, they have ever paid as a result of that initiative. So people save money, and we're happy whenever the government can assist in them doing so. But there was another side to that policy prescription, and that other side was that the government now had to subsidize in a very real way, because even though we removed the fuel surcharge, it doesn't mean that the fuel got any cheaper. It simply means that we had to find another way to pay for it rather than the consumer paying for it. And so the government started to subsidize that fuel surcharge that was removed from people. We look now to the Treasury to subsidize that in order to continue to allow people to pay a lower electricity bill. We did that since early 2022. The result of it, however, is that it has been a wrecking ball for the finances of the NIA. And it has caused tremendous hardship for NEVLEC as well. And I will say it here because I like to be open and fair. The cost of fuel has gone up and down, but mostly up during that period. And we have struggled to keep up with ensuring that NEVLEC had the resources to do what NEVLEC needs to do. We have had some months, members of the press, when the amounts that NEVLEC collected were less than the fuel bill for NEVLEC for the month. And so we had to take a hard look at this and say, well, is there a model that we can use that will better share the cost of electricity and the provision of electricity? In fact, I'll go further and say to you that our principal supply of diesel to NEVLEC in Nevis is Delta Petroleum. And we've had some very difficult conversations. In fact, I recall it was last year, sometime around December, and the economy in Nevis had been firing well, performing well, and working with the Ministry of Finance, we had put away a little nest egg that we were trying to build. I believe we got that to as high as $6 million that we had in an account. And we ran into a problem with the supply of diesel, essentially saying that they had not been paid. And we had to take up those resources and pay Delta in order for us to continue to get diesel so that the lights could stay on. The use of that subsidy has meant that we are unable to do other things. Health, education. Everybody now calls me every day, tell me their road needs fixing. Because once you start doing roads now, people say, right? I see one young man here is from Cherry Gardens. They have some roads there that need fixing. All around Nevis, there are roads that need fixing. They require the resources to do so. And so the more that we have been spending on that subsidy, the less we've had available to us to do other things. And so we met, the board would have decided that what they're going to do is to adjust the tariff. So there will be no reintroduction of the surcharge. But since the base tariff for electricity had not been touched for some decades, they decided that they will adjust the base tariff. So the base tariff would really be your standing charges, what it is you pay for the electricity you use. Why we thought that was a better approach than a reintroduction of the surcharge is because you would be able to control that much better in terms of your usage. Because usually with the surcharge, it really didn't matter too much how much you use. The surcharge really responded to the cost of fuel on the world market. So you could find that you consume less, but you're still paying more in your electricity bill because oil prices were up. So I just want to say that. Now, freedom is a little incorrect because they said there was no public notification. That's not true, because I have here in my hand a press release that would have gone out since the 10th of May, and that press release would have indicated that the position, I did say early 2022, forgive me, it was September 1st, 2022, that we removed the fuel surcharge, that we have had to adjust in order to deal with that. And so we would have put that out, and NEVLEC would have put out a notice, I'm told, on the 10th of May, indicating what their position was in relation to that. We understand that it would mean that consumers will pay a bit more for electricity, but we are asking our consumers to understand that it was a necessary thing that we had to do in order to balance in terms of the consumer accepting some of the responsibility for the payment as well as the government. I would end by saying that the government will still be subsidizing electricity even after this. We will still be subsidizing electricity, but the subsidy will be at a lower level, and that we hope will allow us to do a bit better insofar as our fiscal situation is concerned.
Just in a matter of correction, what Freedom asked was why was there no notice given prior to the increase taking effect, as it did with the water, where we got the notice that the water rates will increase at the budget, and that would have taken effect in March. Instead now, as you said, the press release was issued on May 10th to say that it took effect on May 9th.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying, and I'm just now reading the press release to say effective May 9th. So I'm not sure why this would have been the case. These are matters that were the subject of ongoing discussions, and we would have left that to NEVLEC to make the necessary announcements and to engage with the public on this. So on this one, I would have to apologize, certainly, for the lateness of the notice by NEVLEC, but NEVLEC had this information for some time, so I'm not sure why it was that this was out. I myself misconstrued, because I thought that NEVLEC had indicated it would take effect in June. But looking at the press release in front of me, he said that effective May 9th, for bills payable in June, there will be an adjustment. So it sounds like they're saying it effective May 9th for bills payable in June, but we normally would pay in arrears. So I think that, right, so I think that you're correct that NEVLEC was late with this announcement. So I do apologize for that, and to say to NEVLEC that as a government institution, certainly we would need to engage in a more forthright way with the public. These are matters that can always be emotional, because people don't want to pay, they want to pay more. We understand that, but I'm also asking people to understand that we also don't want the island to go into darkness because we can't afford to pay our suppliers. Remember that we're paying here at times as much as $3.5 to $4 million a month just for diesel. That has nothing to do with our staff and our other costs. So it is a significant undertaking to keep the lights on in Nevis, and we're asking our people to assist us with that, but also asking them to do more to conserve. Right? Don't run the AC all day, all night. Try and turn off lights and things of that nature. Try to conserve as much energy as possible, just as we've been asking people to conserve as much water as possible.
Good morning, Premier Brantley.
Good morning.
Danella Thompson, Bond Radio. We would have received a report about cleaners from the Department of Sports still awaiting payments for services carried out at the sports facilities during the sports season. Are you able to comment on the issue and confirm if payments need to be made and when they will be made? Also, the federal government previously announced its interest in being a host for a U.S. embassy in the Eastern Caribbean. As Premier, what are your views on this possible development, and are you at liberty to share any updates? Also, can we have an update on the airport project? And as it relates to the project, we have received reports about funds being embezzled for the tower aspect of the project. Could you tell the Nivision public if there is any truth to this or not? Also, the police and defense force soldiers, as you would have mentioned, increased their patrolling in the Hamilton area following the latest homicide. And although patrolling is done in other parishes, can this be done on a more regular basis and not when some tragedy would have taken place? And lastly, you would have mentioned the groundbreaking ceremony that was held for Platinum Development's luxury villas, but now reports have surfaced that this will be the home of Russian Jacob Katzman. Can you confirm or deny this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Thompson, thank you. You said things have emerged. You mean that there are a couple of mischief makers on social media who like to jump on social media and disparage everything. I don't think that's anything that has emerged. That is a Nancy story that people tend to tell. And I just would like to say that when I engage here, I engage with the members of the media who are real media. And a lot of the things that people just sit behind a computer and imagine. They wake up every morning and they say, well, what mischief can I make today? What story can I make up? I suppose, if I can recall, because the same mischief maker who would have said something about something being used as a private home and all of that and made a big to-do about it, I gather that the developers have already instructed their lawyers to take some action in relation to that. I will say nothing further there. But it looks like some of them like to be in the courthouse because they like to attack people. They have no information, they just make something up. But I'm reminded, as you say, information has come to light. That one day I'm sitting at my desk and some information came to light that the Ivor Walters Primary School had to close down because of a cockroach infestation. In fact, there was a photo of a cockroach posted by this purveyor of misinformation. And I became very alarmed, and so I called the principal to ask her, how is it that the school is closed? And I don't know. And she says, school is closed? What are you talking about? School is going on as usual. I said, well, the cockroach. Cockroach? What are you talking about? Entirely fabricated story. So I say that as a young journalist, you must be careful sometimes of what comes to light and where the light is shining from. Because sometimes it's coming from the pit of hell. It is not the kind of light that we like at all. Right? Mischief and misinformation. Platinum Development, as I said, supposed to be 3 villas ultimately, luxury villas. Right? This idea, I think the first one is being built as a spec home, and then the other 2, these villas we anticipate are going to be close to the $10 million range in terms of their price. So they're really upmarket villas, and the team has engaged with a number of different luxury goods purveyors. Materials, they're introducing new construction material. They're not, for example, using the usual steel that we would use here. They're using some new techniques and hoping to introduce those to the island as well. So they will have to work out the legal issues, because I'm told that lawyers are involved with these scurrilous accusations. I, however, find it interesting because there is a cacophony of sound and fury from the opposition in Nevis. Nothing is happening, there are no investors. But every single time an investor comes, they attack the investor. Check, members of the media, for yourselves. MSR Media came to do some films in the midst of COVID. They attacked them. These people have just had a groundbreaking. It didn't take but a day for them to attack them. And every single development that comes, there's an effort to attack and to denigrate. And so you ask the question, if it is that we are really interested in the investment and getting people to come, how is it that everybody reach the one response? Nobody can say, welcome, we're happy to have this. New call centers open up in Brownhill, now 100+ people working up there. One in town, 30 people working there. One being built, I'm told, right there at Chapel Street, top of Chapel Street, right? employment for our people. Social Security has the employment numbers. They're not my numbers. They're not the NIA numbers. They come from Social Security, demonstrating what we've been doing here on the island of Nevis. But anytime there is an attempt to step forward, these attacks, vicious attacks, come on people. Now, I could understand an investor coming in and saying, well, this environment is a hostile environment to investment. And that's exactly the desired effect of some. Because when they go in the media and they start to attack people and cast aspersions on them and say that they're fraudsters and all of that, the idea really is to run them. And when you run them, they then come back and say, oh, you see, I tell you, no investment in this. That is really what has been happening here over and over. It is as old as the hills. It continues to be an effort to mislead, to denigrate, to attack, and I don't know, because those who are attacking these investors, at that groundbreaking, Surrey Paving was there, they're the contractor. I remember seeing Hines was there, he's the AC guy. I remember seeing Swanston. Mr. Swanston was there, he's the electrical guy. I remember seeing Wilson Grant, he's the plumbing guy. TDC representatives were there. You have all of these people there. All of these people will be earning from that project and from that investment, and hopefully as the build out happens, earning from the others that are happening as well. So when somebody is scared away because of this hostility, the entire island loses. Social Security, in fact, when Social Security heard about it, somebody called me and said, who can I go talk to, make sure everybody sign up for Social Security? Money is there to be made, and the movement of money within the economy is important if we're going to grow. The numbers that I've been describing in tourism are just an indicator. But throughout the economy in Nevis, we're seeing growth. But there are people out there, you know what the irony of the situation is, Ms. Thompson? Those who are making the most noise and seeking to jeopardize people's investment and seeking to jeopardize the employment of people, them not work no way, you know. They're allergic to hard work. They have one ambition. Can the government change so I could get something on the public post? I could get my snout in the trough, which is the treasury. That is their only ambition. Ask them where they work. Well, if you are going to try to damage Surrey and Mr. Grant and Mr. Swanston and Mr. Hines and all the people who are going to eat a little something from that project over there, well, what is the alternative that you offer? And the only alternative is, well, gentlemen, you could be unemployed like me. Because they're not going out anywhere, to work anywhere, to make any contribution to the development of this island. They just get behind a computer screen or on the radio and they talk. That all of us could talk, most of us since we're about two. But what does that contribute in terms of our development? And the answer is nothing. So the lawyers, I'm told, are engaged, they will deal with that. And they say, who not pay doctor, pay lawyer, they must know what they're doing in relation to that. Now, you said something about the embezzling of funds at the tower. And I have not had any report, and I don't know what funds there could be to embezzle, because we have not started any work in terms of the tower or the airport, in terms of actual work. So no monies have been allocated or released for anything in relation to that project as yet. As I reported, we are in the final stages now of concluding the land acquisition. We have had some agreements in place, and there's one final parcel of land that we are in active discussions with the owner to finalize that. So no monies have been allocated, so there would be nothing to embezzle. And my government is not a government that is associated with any form of embezzlement. Those are words that I'm thankful that the CCM has been in office since 2013, and I've not heard that word used in that period of time. We are not a government that has had any reputation of corrupt practices, embezzlement, or any sticky fingers in relation to Nevis and the finances of Nevis. And it sometimes goes unnoticed, Ms. Thompson, but it's something I'm very proud of. That under my premiership, I can look my cabinet members in the eye, and they can look each other in the eye, and they can look me in the eye and know that as a cabinet and as a government, our hands are clean. We do not engage in that type of activity on the island of Nevis insofar as the government is concerned. So I can say I have had no report of any problems, but I would be puzzled if there could be any suggestion of embezzlement for a project that has not yet started and for which no monies have been released. The hosting of a U.S. embassy, I would welcome it very much, but I have no information on it. It would be a federal matter, and it would be for them to engage, but certainly I think it would be a welcomed initiative and remove the requirement for so many of us having to travel to Barbados to get visas and to engage with the U.S. embassy. We do know that from time to time American officials do come here to service U.S. citizens who live here, but we understand that others who may require a visa from time to time would have to go there. Fortunately, we were able to negotiate one of the successes, I think, of my tenure as foreign minister, that if you had a U.S. visa, I think before, and your biometrics are within the last 10 years, I think, that you no longer have to travel to Barbados. You can just send your paperwork and apply online. But in terms of those who are seeking a visa for the first time, then, or who had not had one in the last 10 years, they still have to go. So it's an inconvenience, it's a cost, and so if we can get a U.S. embassy in St. Kitts and Nevis, that would be wonderful. In fact, I could stay at this podium now and say to the Prime Minister and to the U.S. government that I'm sure we have some land in Nevis that we can make available to them to build an embassy on the island of Nevis. I think that would be a wonderful thing for the entire Federation. You asked about patrolling in various areas. I agree with you. The police need to engage more. The security forces need to engage more. But part of policing is obviously where there's a problem, they do a search to try to, one, give greater confidence to people in the community, and two, to prevent additional activities happening in that community. We also have a manpower issue, and that is why we in Nevis have sought to assist our police with CCTV and electronic surveillance around the island. In fact, I believe that by Culturama we should have rolled out additional aspects of that island-wide CCTV coverage that we're doing, and we anticipate that in some communities you'll see more of that happening. I will point out to members of the community in Nevis that the government isn't trying to mind your business or to spy on you. What we're really trying to do is what has been done globally, which is to use electronic surveillance on our main roads and in our public spaces in order to help us to prevent, because a lot of times perhaps somebody looks up and sees a camera and they had ill intent, they may change their mind, and when they do something wrong, that we'll be able to capture some footage that could help us to solve that particular crime. I will just say to the criminals, because a lot of them believe that they're smarter than the police, and so I'm told, are masking up and gloving up and putting on all kinds of things to try to hide their identity. But I say to them that we will continue with our stop and search along the roadways. We will continue to use triangulation for our CCTV to ensure that we know that if a car is in a particular area, where that car might have come from and where it's going. And so we're trying to tighten the noose. The best advice I have for them is to stop doing what they're doing and not be like this radio commentator and Facebook commentator, go and find a job. That's the best advice that I could get for them. There's work available in Nevis for all who want to work. They must go and work. Cleaners awaiting payment. That issue did come to me. There's one particular individual who has been agitating, saying that payment is due, and I refer that matter to the Ministry of Sport. The Honorable Troy Lightwood is well aware of it. The last report I had from him is that we had in fact paid the persons who had worked, and that there was a question of some additional payment that had been demanded, and they were trying to negotiate that. But that is the last report that I had. I confess I have not spoken to him in the last few days on the matter, because I assumed that the matter had been dealt with. So I hope this is not a recent complaint. It could have been something from about a week ago. If so, then hopefully that matter would have been addressed by now. I think I've covered the various areas that you raised. Thank you very much as always, Ms. Thompson.
Good morning, Premier.
Good morning, Mr. Bart.
Glenn Bart from SKN Newsline. Premier, the management of a small island state like St. Kitts and Nevis is quite challenging, and we talk about diversification over the years, and particularly I want to get to the issue of agriculture diversification, or diversifying more into agriculture. Now, I know on Nevis quite a bit has been done, and on St. Kitts too, but one of the areas that seems to be missing in action to some extent is the area of fisheries, where not much attention has been thrown that way in terms of increasing the numbers of catch, increasing the possibilities of processing of fishery products, gaining foreign exchange and that kind of thing. And now when you add into that the mix of the proposed CARICOM free movement of people, additional people coming into your country, they're looking for work employment, etc. We need to, first of all, begin to boost the opportunities for employment through new areas such as fisheries. What are your thoughts on Nevis in particular, going deeper into the maritime industries?
Mr. Bard, you always ask some challenging questions because you're right that I don't believe that we have emphasized or done enough in relation to fisheries. But you would equally be correct if you said we had not done enough in relation to other forms of food security as well. And perhaps my answer is that because of limited resources, we have been forced to make difficult decisions in terms of where we focus. And in Nevis over the years, what we've tried to focus on is really crop production and to some extent animal production. And you're absolutely correct that the fishers have sort of been left in a large way, not getting the same level of support that the crop farmers and the animal farmers have received. Fishing in Nevis has continued to be a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like a village activity. It is still very traditional in the sense that you can go to certain villages in Nevis. You go to Hanley's Road, you go to Newcastle, you go to Jessop's, Bath. But beyond that, you don't have fishing on a commercial level in Nevis. You have some fishermen who do better than others and who take it a bit more seriously. But the bottom line is that nobody has really gone to that level where you know will have fish that you could talk about processing and all of that. In fact, fish on the island sometimes is very difficult to get because by the time the fishermen come in, restaurants and the like can't get because there's just not enough. That coupled with some, in my view, need for greater responsibility. And I'm going to share that comment because the fisher folk need to be more responsible and the government needs to be more responsible. What do I mean? Just a few days ago I was at a particular place and had a conversation with a fisherman who said that he had been fishing for some 34 years. And he was complaining bitterly, and I think rightfully so, that because of the unconscionable behavior of some of his colleagues and the lack of enforcement by the government, that what we are seeing happening is that a lot of undersized fish, lobsters, conch, are being extracted from the ocean. And the result of that is that the fish stocks are diminishing. And if you talk to fishers around St. Kitts and Nevis, a lot of them tell you you have to go farther out to sea in order to get fish, whereas before you used to get fish, lobsters and all that relatively close to shore. You now have to go deeper and deeper to catch anything. He pinpointed the entry into the fishing business, if you will, of some of the very folks that you mentioned. He said that we now had in Nevis fishermen from other countries who had moved here, lived here, and that he felt that their approach to fishing was different to the local village approach that we used to have. And so they catch anything that they could catch. They pull up anything that they could pull up. There's no throwing back the small ones. So he mentioned that there's this fad, I don't know if you've heard of this fish aggregating device that they put out to sea, and they are very useful, but a lot of young small fish also congregate. And so you take something like mahi, which is very popular here, and they say the undersized mahi are being harvested, which is not then given an opportunity for reproduction and for stocks to grow. And so I like to listen to the people who have the expertise, and I did ask what was a possible solution. So I think we need more enforcement. We also may need to consider, which is, I know, would be a difficult choice, whether or not we don't put some kind of ban in place for a particular period of time, just to allow stocks to replenish and to come back. We also have had the degradation of our reefs around the island and the country. And you know, reefs are good for sea life. In fact, the Four Seasons Resort would have built some what do you call them now? Protection from large boulders they put into the sea. It was very controversial some years ago, but they put them out there. If you go to the Four Seasons, you look out to sea, you'll see some breakwaters that they built. But I was pleasantly surprised recently to hear that there's a lot of fish now that congregates around those breakwaters, and that you could even have lobsters and things now in that area. Very surprised to hear that, because it's not very far from shore. So it does reinforce what happens with reef life and the like around. And so as our reefs have suffered because of climate change and other factors, we have seen less fish stock as well. So your question is an excellent question. I do not believe that in this press conference I could really give you the comprehensive answer, because I do believe that there are a number of different reasons why fisheries has not developed and is not doing as well as it could do here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe that it requires more focused attention. It also requires ongoing education for our fisher folk. And I'll give you a practical example. One day during COVID, I was at a particular small restaurant in Nevis, and a young man came into the restaurant and he had a, you know they call a crocus bag? Mr. Bard, a crocus bag. And he said he was trying to sell some lobsters. He had them in the crocus bag. The owner of the restaurant said, I didn't want any lobster. And the young man was very, very forlorn. He was, clearly very down about the situation. And he mentioned that he wanted to buy some medication for his child. And this is what he's trying to do. Now, that for me was quite moving, because I said he could have opted to do something that was unlawful, but instead he went out to sea, he caught some lobsters, and he's trying to sell them. So I did not need any lobsters, but I offered to buy them from him in order to assist the situation. And foolishly, because my great aunt of blessed memory always told me, don't buy a pig in a blanket. So foolishly I asked, how much are the lobsters? He gave me a price, I paid him, and he gave me the crocus bag. When I got home and I emptied out the crocus bag, some of the lobsters in the bag were not much bigger than shrimp. Tiny. I had his number, so I called him. And I called him and I remonstrated with him and said to him, listen man, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're picking up lobsters which are so tiny, it means they've had no opportunity to reproduce. And I found his response was interesting. He said that I don't understand the sea. Lobsters don't breed like humans. When they breed, there's millions of them. And so, in other words, he saw nothing wrong with what he had done. And you go to some of the restaurants in Nevis and you get, again, lobster tails which are not much bigger than a large shrimp. And even the purchasers of those lobsters ought to know that they are helping to destroy the stocks that are around the island. So we need a conversation which is a broad conversation about fisheries. Who's buying these undersized fish, these undersized lobsters, conch, etc.? Why are we buying them? If the fishermen knew that they couldn't sell them, I doubt that they will catch them. They'll probably throw them back. And then what is the government doing to enforce the regulations? Because there are regulations in place to forbid some of these activities. And then can the fishermen themselves understand that when they engage in this type of activity, they're ultimately making it harder for themselves to earn a living? So different stakeholders, I think, need to come together and have that conversation. I have said more than I needed to say, because I agree with you that we need to do more in relation to fisheries. But to do that, we need all the stakeholders on board and a common understanding of what it is we're trying to achieve. Not people come to a seminar, as we like to do, go to a bit of training, and then we leave and we go right back to what we had been trying to do. I mean, Mr. Bada, you know, this is slightly off the topic, but even, for example, safety and security. You know how hard it has been to get our fisher folk to use a GPS, to have safety and, you know, life jackets and thing on board. You know, they feel that it's an imposition on them, when in reality you're trying to sell them, listen, this is a method to keep you safe. If you go out to sea and you get lost, the GPS tracking will allow the Coast Guard and thing to find you. So we need a wholesale re-education of our people. And the idea that fishing was just something that my father used to do it, our people in the village do it. So let me go out and I come back and we get 100 pounds, we sell it, and that's the extent of it. It is not being pursued, in my view, in a commercial way. And all of that needs, I think, to change if we're going to get to a stage where the marine life can provide really a significant source of employment and a significant element of diversification to our local economy. We would need to do a lot of work, in my view, starting with a re-education of our people and a better understanding of why it is necessary to protect our fish stocks. I would say lastly that a group of fisher folk from here went down, I think, to either Save or Statia sometime in the last year or two. And one of them commented to me that he was shocked that just off a dock or just right in the water, the size of fish that were there. And that came about because of education. It came about because of enforcement. That the Dutch authorities enforce the laws in relation to size and season of the catch. And the local fishermen understand that it is in fact in their best interest to cooperate with the authorities to ensure that they don't overfish, and by overfishing put themselves out of business. So your question caused me to say a lot, but I believe that it is an area that has not attracted the level of attention it justly deserves. Anything further for me?
Okay, Hewlett Department of Information. Freedom FM has sent another question and said that MSR Media has advised of a lawsuit which names high-level officials on both sides of the political spectrum, charging corruption and fraud. Are you aware of the legal matter, and what is your advice to the government? My question, can you give an idea as to the NIA's fiscal performance so far for 2024 and speak to the economic outlook for the second half of this year? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hewlett. I wish I knew that you would ask the question about fiscal performance, because I have the numbers, I just don't have them with me. What I can tell you is that the numbers that I saw suggested that the NIA was just about 7% or so in terms of revenue, higher than we were last year. and we're at about 17% higher than we were in 2022. So we're trending in the right direction, and I've asked Inland Revenue and our revenue collecting agencies to do what they can in terms of doing better. I do not have today a forecast over the next quarter, because we are getting some unexpected outturns from what I described earlier, large groups, Four Seasons, etc. Recall, however, that the government is also spending a bit more than normal in terms of our preparation for Culture Armor 50. So I will get that information for you, but I can tell you, based on the numbers that I saw and that I have, that we have had outturns in terms of our revenue generation. We're up about 7% this year over last year, and about 17% this year over 2022. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. Freedom FM has asked about MSR Media and some lawsuit. I want to be very clear that the government that I lead entered into a contract with MSR Media to make films, to make movies. That was the expertise that we knew MSR Media had, and that there was a partnership that we engaged with them on. And that partnership led to the filming of some 9 movies in Nevis, most of them, and some involving St. Kitts as well, over the course of the pandemic. I believe that the public is aware, so I will not be saying anything that is new. But whilst Team Unity existed, MSR would have come in 2020, if memory serves, during the time when Team Unity still existed. And my idea about starting a movie industry was scoffed at. It was considered that I was off on a frolic of my own. But I thought that it was something that could be done. And as the evidence ultimately showed, we started something from the ground. When my colleagues, then colleagues in the cabinet in St. Kitts, observed that in fact what was considered a joke was in fact not a joke, but things were happening, they did everything in their power to woo MSR Media to St. Kitts. And this perhaps is a sad symptom of the absence of a real relationship sometimes between these two islands, because one would have thought that a government that saw something in Nevis happening and looking good would say, how could we invest and make it bigger? But that was not what they sought to do. So a number of meetings ensued with the people from MSR, and ultimately MSR announced, and I believe they announced it publicly, that they were moving the whole kit and caboodle to St. Kitts. And I was attacked by the usual suspects in Nevis that, oh, the MSR left and gone St. Kitts and whatever. I knew what was behind that. Including, I can say here today, that more money was being offered to them to do certain things in terms of film over on St. Kitts, but the quid pro quo, the requirement was that they must have their base in St. Kitts. And so they went. In fairness to MSR, they discussed the matter with me. And I told them, well, they had to make a business decision. And they made their business decision and they went to St. Kitts. As the old people would say here, in 2 tours, they came back to Nevis to continue making movies, because the situation in St. Kitts turned out to be not as amenable in terms of the making of movies. You would recall, for example, that MSR was ensconced at Kittish and Hill at one point. And there was a lot of talk about them getting invested in La Valley and doing all kinds of things on the island of St. Kitts. All of that was put in a nice little package with an orange bow on top of it in order to persuade them to leave Mark Brantley and Nevis and come over to St. Kitts. When the government changed in 2022 and the Dr. Drew administration took over, MSR again engaged with the new administration, and that led to their purchase of the OTI, which, as you know, had been hitherto owned by TDC. Again, the explanation, MSR gave to me, they didn't need to give me an explanation, but what they said to me was that that would become their new base of operations. So this was their second foray onto St. Kitts, and OTI was to become the base. And I said, well, because by that time I had indicated to them that my interest was movies, film, and whatever they wanted to do in terms of film based on the track record that they had developed with me. And I will say it now, and I continue to say, MSR delivered to Nevis what they committed to deliver. So I have no quarrel with MSR and that. But they went into St. Kitts for their second round, and they bought now the OTI, and they said that would be their base. I said, fine, if you want to do more movies in Nevis, let us know. We had been discussing a series, a television series that they wanted to do. And Nevis has also been speaking to other producers. We've appointed a film commissioner. We're still very serious about film. Along the way, MSR got into this whole citizenship by investment and decided that they could use film. They could use citizenship by investment in order to pay for films that are produced here. And I will go on record today to say that I support that. I believe that the citizenship by investment program should be used to facilitate new strands to our economy. And if we could develop a film industry, I saw what it could do in Nevis over COVID. And if we could develop a film industry that is supported by proceeds from the citizenship by investment program, I have no problem with that at all. I then started to hear various accusations and counter accusations, and that is where I extricated myself and Nevis from that, because I was not privy to any of those negotiations or discussions that occurred at the high tables. I tell people all the time that when cabinet was convened, that some of us were out in the yard. We weren't even allowed in the room. So there were lots of things that were being done and discussed that I was not privy to, I was not a part of, and the NIA, more importantly, was not a part of. So I have seen, in short answer, Freedom, the allegations and counter allegations. I've seen the lawsuit. I read some 102 pages, I think it was. Took my time and I read it. And I am comforted that there is not one single allegation against me or anybody in Nevis. Not one. So all who have cocoa or sun and rain coming, they're going to have to go deal with that. But there's no cocoa in the sun in Nevis. And if there's any in the sun in Nevis, the sun is shining, no rain is coming. There's no mention. And I thought it instructive that MSR, who was brought to the Federation by us, the NIA, to make movies, is now in this international battle, it looks like, with functionaries on the island of St. Kitts. And nobody in Nevis whatsoever has been named in that lawsuit, nor has there been any allegation against anybody in Nevis in relation to that lawsuit. And so Freedom is asking what advice I would give. I believe all those who are sued have lawyers. That is their job, to advise their client. It's not for me to advise anybody. But I am comforted in the reality that there has been nothing untoward said of me or my administration, or anyone else for that matter, on the island of Nevis. Some of the allegations are quite explosive. If you have not yet read it, Mr. Bart, I suggest you take some time and read it. They're quite explosive allegations. And some purportedly come from taped interviews that people gave. I would not know anything about that, because as I said, our engagement with MSR was limited to making movies. That's what we know about MSR, and the only support that we gave was because we thought that if you had a fund that could come from CBI but assist in the movie business, that we could transform the economy here and have that diversification, to use the word you used earlier, to our local economy. The rest of it, who get money from who and who was bribing who and who was getting kickback from who, I know nothing of that. That is a matter for the court. I am just content that my name and none of my ministers and nobody in Nevis is involved in that. It will be for those who are involved to explain what their situation involvement was and to defend these allegations that have been made against them that have now gone viral around the world. Right? I will end by saying this. Sometimes, too smart, there are one smart door. For old people in Nevis and St. Kitts, they understand that. Too smart, dead are one smart door. Sometimes we believe we are more clever than we need to be. And sometimes we believe we're more clever than we actually are. We could have been engaged in making our movies and it wouldn't have been a problem. But because others had other interests, we now find ourselves in this type of situation. So I wish Freedom all the best while they investigate, and I hope that the investigation leads somewhere, and they, like me, will continue to follow what is happening in relation to this litigation. Anything further for me? No? All right. I just want to say thank you, therefore, to the members of the press who have come. Mr. Bart, I know you come over from St. Kitts. Thank you very much. The others seem to be using Miss Hewlett as a conduit, so they're not taking the boat. But that's why I give credit to Mr. Bart, because he comes. Oh, I see. Mr. Bart comes, and so I'm very grateful for that. And of course, Miss Thompson from Vaughan, who's always here, and the good people from NTV, and of course, the people provide the support, the screens and the like in the back. So thank you all very much, and we hope to be back here next month. I think we're going to be a little earlier than we were this month because of some travel obligation that I have, but certainly I look forward to engaging with you again. So thank you all very, very much.